So thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Jasdeep and I'm pre-sales engineer with SEI, and we will be presenting you SEI today on different platforms, starting with the first platform, which is the web application. And along with the web application, SEI is also offered on Excel. So we have a specific platform for Excel lovers out there who would like to report and create or maintain reports within Microsoft Excel. So we will have definitely a look at that platform as well. But let's go first of all with the web application, where I'm logging in as admin, but I must mention that each SEI user gets their own unique username and password, and there are different security settings and choices and preferences that you can set up for yourself based on what reports you want to see, based on what role you have in the organization. So as we log in, we are taken directly into the main landing page of SEI, where we have the command center on the left-hand side of the screen, giving us the access to data models and views, dashboards, reports, web workbooks, and also a section called favorites, where you can store the reports that you will be using most often. The first tab right here, which is the data models and views, we have two different sets of templates which are delivered out of the box for Sage 100 users. As if I expand Sage 100 folder right here, we can see all the modules which are already delivered out of the box. And each one of these modules have pre-built reports, graphs, and visualizations for you to start using from the day one. So the different modules, as you can see, are based on sales, general ledger with all the financial reports. Then we also have some of the operational modules such as inventory, material requirements planning, purchase order, RMA, job costing, and so on and so forth. And along with the Sage 100 template, we also have another set of template, which is the universal data model. The difference here would be that you can bring in your data not only from Sage 100, but also from other sources, other systems that you have in place. These could be your third-party systems, it could be legacy systems that you are currently using, but you do not have a means to bring in the data and report on that properly. So you can bring in all the data into SEI and report on that using the universal data models, which offer the reports on finance, sales, CRM, inventory, and some of the advanced functionalities as well, like financial budgeting and sales forecasting, something that we will also look into this presentation. So let's go ahead and explore some of the reports which we get out of the box with SEI for Sage 100. So here I'm expanding the GL transaction report data model, and then we will open the transaction details report. When we try to open the reports, we can also have this nice selection page, which is a set of different filters where we can clearly define what exact fiscal year or fiscal period do we want to filter on. And based on those fields that we input, the data loads appropriately in the report that comes and shows up as it is right now. So just to explain you how the reports work within SEI, we have all of these reports working on the principle of groups, pivots, and columns, the three shells that we see here on the top, and then the different fields that we can enter here by bringing them from dimensions and measures, or we can simply swap them around, delete them, really slice and dice the data on these reports. So the tool gives us that kind of flexibility to really move things around and see the data the way we want to see it. Now, to explain you how these reports actually work, we have 4 fields in the groups, which are account category code, followed by the group code and the account code, all the way down to the document number. So this is the exact same sequence which will be followed when we go in the groups column right here, and we start drilling down on this report. So if I go into the cost of sales, for example, I drill down on that, and then I can see the next level, which is the group codes. So these are my group codes. So if I further drill down on the group code, I will see all the account codes which are posted under that, since the account code is the next field. If I further drill down on one of the account codes here, let's say 450 or 102, then we can have the document numbers attached depending on if we have it already in the system. But we can also bring in other dimensions and measures easily into this report by going into the toolbar on the right hand side. One of the tools is the dimensions and measures, where we have all the other dimensions like segment codes, time dimensions such as posting date, fiscal year, fiscal period, accounting information, sequences, batches, document numbers, so on and so forth. So we can easily bring in all that information into this report by dragging and dropping these fields. Another thing that I must mention here is that this is a consolidated report. So if you have multiple companies set up in Sage 100, or you can bring in the company code dimension, simply drag and drop like I do here, and then we will see all the list of all the companies in the same report. So you are looking at not just one company, but the transactions of each company, as this is a consolidated report. What we can also do is to bring in the company code in the pivots, which then creates a separate column for each company, as you can see. So this way we can compare the data for each company by keeping them side by side. And this is just not limited to company code by putting that in the pivot. We can bring in any other dimension of our choice too. So for example, if I want to bring in the time dimension, let's say fiscal year followed by fiscal period, I can simply drag and drop these fields again into the groups. And then I have all the years data for me. I can easily filter on these years too by simply adding them to the filter. Here I have filtered on 2025. And when we drill down further on that, we see all the fiscal periods which are under that. But what I can also do is to simply bring in my fiscal period under the company code. And that as a result, you will notice when I'm drilling down on 2025 on this side, we have now not only each column for every company, but also each column for a separate fiscal period. So you can really have a lot of flexibility in terms of how you want to look at your data and how you want to further go ahead and analyze that with the help of these reports. So that was one basic example with a lot of functionality that we have available within these reports. Another thing is that we can drill down to very detailed level of this reporting. So if I go all the way down to the account codes, and then we have the document number, and then followed by that, if I drill down to the last level, I can also see the raw level details like the posting date, the journal register number, so on and so forth. So we're getting all the details which are present in the ERP database in these reports. Now let's have a look at some of the advanced financial reports which are also available and offered with the universal data model. So we have the reports like income statement, balance sheet, cash flow. So if I open one of these, we'll see what they look like. I'm going to filter using the selection page again, and that will make sure that I see the data only for the selected area. And there we have our income statement standard report loading for us, where we have the sales, cost of goods sold, expenses, which I further drill down to see all the account codes which are under sales. And then further drilling that down, if I have the document number present in my system, which my database, I don't have it, but you can really drill down to that level of detail. And at the same time, bring any KPIs of your choice into these reports. So if I go back in dimensions and measures, here we will see the list of all the KPIs which are already delivered out of the box. So we do not have to start from the scratch when it comes to building calculations on variance percentages or year-to-date calculations, rolling 12, budget versus actual mix. All we need to do is to simply grab those fields like that and simply drag and drop them into the columns. And that, as a result, adds 2 new columns into my report, as you can see. What we can also further do is to really bring out the important information using the KPIs. So my rolling 12, for example, here is for the last year 0. I'll remove that column and I'll keep this column right here. And I will set up a condition on this column to bring out all the negative figures, for example. So they can easily set up those rules on these reports. So if I go in posting rolling 12, apply the conditional formatting, and here I will be able to define a very quick rule. So if my posting rolling 12 is less than 0, which means if it is negative, I can use a symbol of my choice, an icon, and at the same time I can also use a different color for my font. That's it. So apply that rule, and then as soon as I save that rule, no matter to what level of detail I'm drilling down on this report, I will be able to see that rule applied across the whole column. Similarly, we can set up these rules for multiple columns at the same time, and even compare one column with another too, using the conditional formatting that we have available here. Then let's go ahead and also explore some of the operational reports as well, which are available with Sage 100 template. So on the sales side, we have sales orders, sales analysis, sales summary, invoice history, all these reports delivered out of the box. So let's say if I want to go into my sales orders report. Here I have the dimensions like company code. So we are beginning with that. And then I also see the order year. Again, drilling down on that, we see the order month, followed by the order type code, and finally the order numbers that we have for each transaction. And then on this side, we have the different KPIs like the quantity ordered, the extension amount, the tax amounts, profit percentages, so on and so forth. So the principle across all the reports within SCI remains the same. We have the same layout where we can easily bring in the different dimensions and measures into these reports by dragging and dropping them in here, and easily slice and dice on the data. So if, for example, I do not want to see my item name, I also want to get rid of the extension amount and a few more dimensions that I would remove from here, you simply hover onto these dimension or KPIs, and you're able to create a much condensed form of report if you would like so. Now, another thing about the reports is that we can easily share and distribute these reports to our colleagues, both inside and outside the organization. So with these reports, we have the sharing option available in the toolbar again, where we have the ability to export them in a format of our choice. If it could be PDF, Excel, or any other format that you would like to export it into. And we also have the ability to send a comment on these reports. For example, we can take a marker here and we can encircle the numbers that need some attention, add any annotations, and even text if we would like, and send a direct email to our colleagues, and they will receive the attached notes or remarks that we add as the annotations on these screenshots. That's one way of course, sharing and collaborating with your teams, but we also have other tools. So you can do a page setup and do a printout of these reports, and most importantly, be able to subscribe to these reports by setting your own date and time. So with the SCI's distribution module, we have advanced tools like this one, where we can easily schedule the distribution of these reports. For example, here, what I can do is that I can create a reporting pack. A reporting pack would be a set of different reports and visualizations put together in a nice PDF file, which is very presentable, that I can send over to the board of directors or even outside the organization to my suppliers or my customers, for example. So if I want to create a finance reporting pack, I can filter on all the incomes, financial reports which exist in SCI for me. And then if there are any reports sitting in Excel add-in, which we haven't seen yet, but there's a possibility to bring in all those Excel reports also and add them to the reporting pack. And then we can add some aesthetic touches to these reporting packs too, where you can add a cover page, you could add your own company logo in there, add dynamic variables, add a text field to give a nice depiction or just the summary of the report as an opening page. And then you also have the table of contents, which will list all these reports together. Next, we can send it to different users. So these users in SCI are maintained within SCI. So you have your user set up in Sage 100, but at the same time, SCI has its own security module where you will be able to set up your users as individual users or even as groups if they have the same security settings. And the advantage of this is that we can really limit the data on who sees what information in these reports when they are sent out to them. So this way we can easily choose the users right here based on their security settings and set up a schedule for them, well, how often they would like to receive these reports. So let's say if it's 9 a.m. every Monday and Thursday of the week that I would like these reporting pack to be sent out to my colleagues, I set it up right here, hit save, and then as a result, the end users will receive the finance reporting pack, for example, which will look something like this. So this is just a sample reporting pack for your reference, but you could add your company logo here on the top, followed by the table of contents and your nice dashboards and all the financial statements, which are put together in a nice PDF file, which is easily shared across the organization. We can also set up conditions. We have the conditions tab here where you can define the rules. For example, if you want to compare your actuals versus the budget and your actuals go over the budget amount, you can set it up as a condition. And as soon as that happens, you can receive a notification about something not going right in the organization in terms of financials. Or it could also be set up for the sales. So you have a clean slate and you can set up these conditions for any module in terms of your reporting. Now with the out of the box reports, again, if you go back there, we saw some of the sales reports here. We also have the reports on inventory management, work order, MRP, purchase orders, so on and so forth. So if you want to have a look at the inventory report, for example, let's go into this one, all items. And here we have, again, the ability to bring in different dimensions. I only have item code right here, so I see the list of different items, but here I have the entire list of other dimensions which I can easily bring in. So let's say if I want to bring in the created year, month, and I could also bring in the item type. Oops. So let's just bring in these two first. I drag and drop them in, and then I can bring in the item type before the item code. So you can really place them exactly where you want. And here we have already the data being grouped by the year first, followed by the month, and then we have the item type all the way down to the item code. And when I further drill this down, I can also see any of the raw level details like who's the user created key, what is the user created key, what's the date updated, the last receipt date, so on and so forth. Coming back to your universal data model and what it has to offer, again, other than the standard reporting, is the ability to do and create the financial budgets and sales forecasts. So here in the financial budgeting and sales forecasting module, I have an example set up on the budgeting. So we can bring in the numbers from Sage 100 and then build forecasts or financial sales forecasts or financial budgets based on those numbers. So we have the ability to create for financial budgets by month or by quarter. And here is an example of what that budget report will look like in SEI. So we can easily choose the format, whether it's a balance sheet, whether it's a cash flow, whether it's an income statement. So you choose the format that you want and confirm. And this is what I'm showing you is the end result, but we will understand how these budgets are actually created within SEI. But first we'll have a look at what it looks like. So here we have the income statement because that's the format that I chose. And then I can drill down to different levels of details to see the account codes and have this whole spread of from period n all the way to n+11, where I can see all my budget numbers applied already. Now, how did we get to this budget is we go back in the same data model and we use the in-app widget, which is the view info pages. This is where we are creating the new budgets, such as the one that we saw in the worksheet. So you're setting up a config ID, which is basically you selecting the fields that you want to include in the budget. And then you give the budget a name. Let's just give it budget 1, revision number 1, but you can create multiple versions of the same budget within SEI too. And then you can choose from 5 different methods that can be applied to create the budget. For example, if I choose the percentage increase on the last year posting, which is the one right here, then I will need to select what percentage do I want to apply. Let's say 15%. And if I'm creating a budget for 2024, then SEI will take the numbers of the postings from 2023, because that's the last year of 2024, and apply a 15% increase on that, and then eventually give me the numbers for 2024. And that's exactly what is happening in the worksheet right here. So these numbers that we see in this budget worksheet have already been increased by 15%, and that's what's giving us the budget amount. But what's also interesting about these worksheets is that we can go in each cell level, because we can do so in these reports. It's activated with the data entry feature, and I can go and change the number for a specific account code if I need to do that manual tweak even after the budget has been applied. So we can easily make those changes and then go ahead and save the data. The budget module within SEI, or even the sales forecasting module, follows a little workflow where these budgets, once saved by the end users, can then be sent for the approval by their managers. And once approved, they can then be sent into and pushed into different reports, dashboards for us to do the analysis. Speaking of the dashboards, we have the next tab here, which is the dashboard tab, where we have out-of-the-box dashboards delivered on many Sage 100 modules like sales, inventory, accounts payable, accounts receivable, so on and so forth, and a lot more of them which are delivered out of the box with the universal data model. So we have some of the role-based dashboards here, like CFO dashboard. So we'll open this one. And as you can see, this dashboard actually covers a lot of information on different KPIs like performance, profitability, gross margin, cash to cash cycle, all of them put together to give us a good picture of the overall health of the overall financial health of the organization. What's also interesting about these dashboards is that they are not just a static image. So we can actually play with the data on these dashboards by applying different selections using the filtering button on the top. So we have different filters that we can set up. And by the way, each one of these dashboards is fully customizable. So if you want a different filter on the top, instead of what you're already seeing in this out-of-the-box dashboards, that can totally be done and customized. And then we can go and make a different selection. So if instead of fiscal period 4, I want to do a selection on fiscal period 6. I apply that selection, and as a result, the data readily reloads on this dashboard to show me the numbers for fiscal period 6. So we can easily change the data on the fly. And like I said, these dashboards are fully customizable. So if I want to remove one of the visualizations here, resize it, or simply empty that space to make room for another report, I can easily do that. So if I go back in my finance module in general ledger, I can go and bring in a different report of my choice. So let's say income statement. I simply drag and drop that in right here. And that empty space will now be filled with the new report, which is the income statement. Here I have the revenue and all that information. I can drill this down to different levels of details and scroll through it to see all the associated amounts with that. We can enlarge each and every visualization so as to get a better idea of what the numbers look like. And you can hover onto each data point to see what it's actually referring to. What's also interesting about these dashboards is that we can spot a trend or something which we need to dig in deeper into and link these dashboards to the underlying data which is present within other worksheets. So for example, the black line right here, which is the working capital ratio, it's seeing a sudden decline right here in 2025-01. So if I click on the data point representing that little dip, I can click on that and use the link to button, which then in return shows me the suggestions of the different worksheets I can connect to. So here I have income statement, trial balance, balance sheet, different reports I can link directly to. So it makes me jump from that dashboard visualization right into this report. So I can go on and drill down to different levels of details to understand the cause of that sudden dip that I see in the dashboard here. So that's the capabilities of these dashboards, very powerful. And what's also interesting about them is that you can mix and match different modules within the same dashboard space. So if in the same financial dashboard, you might want to bring in the data from the sales, your procurement, from your inventory, or even other data sources that you might have, you can easily do so since they accommodate those different data models within the same space. Then we also have another tool, which is the reporting tree. So let's go and have a look at that one too. For those of you who have multiple companies set up within Sage 100, this could be something very useful because you can set up a reporting tree where you can easily set up the hierarchy of your company based on the company codes and then further the site codes and departments as well. And then you can easily select that department, for example, and then the report reloads based on that selection. So here we have the reporting tree where I have set it up for the parent filter as the consolidation. And then I have North America as my main region, under which I have two different countries and then the different regions within those countries. You could consider this as the main consolidation of the entire company setup that you have, followed by company one. And then within the company one, you could have different departments or different site codes, for example. So clicking on that, for example, if I click on North America, it will show me all the United States and Canada combined in this report. And if I further go into United States, click on that, and that will reload this report to show me the postings only for United States, and that will not take into account Canada because that's not what I've selected. So this is what you could use the reporting tree for, to easily filter on your reports by clicking on a button. It is offered as a clean slate, so it could be used for the financial reports like this one, but also other operational reports like sales, inventory, manufacturing, job costing, so on and so forth. So we've seen quite a lot of reports on the web application, definitely based on the Sage 100, what we have out of the box template, and then Sage Enterprise Intelligence's universal data model, along with some of the dashboards as well. Now, what I would like to do is to also introduce you to our Excel add-in platform. So here we have the Excel add-in platform where we have some of the sample reports like financial analysis, income statement, balance sheet, which have all been created using the add-ins button, which offers us over 25 different tools that we can use to create and maintain these reports within Excel. So in the back end, it's exactly the same solution. It's just that it gives us the users the flexibility to work either in the web platform or the Excel add-in based on what they are more comfortable with. But you have the access to both platforms within the same offering. So here, for example, how this tool actually works. So I'll quickly give you a brief idea for what different tools are involved in creating these reports. So income statement here, what we first of all need for the income statement is the list of account codes and their descriptions. So we can use the tool like data extraction of SCI, where I can go and pick the data model of my choice, choose the environment as production, and then I'm bringing in the accounts. And that's what is going to load the list of accounts for me. But at the same time, I'm also applying the filter of sales on this. So you can see in the list, I have applied the filter sales so that accounts that I'm actually extracting from my database will be limited to the sales because we are talking about the sales here. If I go further down on this report and go into the cost of sales section and go back into this account code, then we will notice that this time the filter has been changed to COGS. So we can easily apply filter for each separate section, and that's how we get a different list of accounts based on what we're trying to achieve in these reports. Then as the next step is the calculations. So here we have the different calculations which are being performed not manually by typing all these long formulas, but also in fact being taken care of by another tool which is called the formula wizard. So here we again choosing the data model that we want to work on, the field that we want to use to create these calculations, and then choosing the operation, whether it's a sum, average, count. So it offers us the list of different operators that we can easily use. And as the next step, we are applying different filters. So fiscal year is coming from the cell D8 in the spreadsheet right here. Fiscal period, same way, it is coming from the cell D8. So this is how we are mapping these different fields in these reports. And then based on the field that we selected and the operation that we wanted to do on that field, we are getting to our calculations in each one of these cells. And then these formulas can be easily replicated to the other cells, and we can make minor changes. For example, from the actuals, I can then choose the budget instead of the actual posting as a field. So the tools are there in place for us to create these reports and without having to manually type all the extensive formulas here in the Excel. Some of the other tools which are also quite useful here are the ones like duplicator. So you can create one income statement report like this one, and then you could duplicate it across other dimensions. So if you want to see your income statement report for each separate company, you could use the tool such as duplicator, where you will go and pick your data model, and then you can just say company code as your field, and then choose the list of companies which you would want to use or choose from. And so if I say I'm going to create a duplicate copy for each one of these companies, you will make that selection, and then the tool will replicate those reports for us and create multiple tabs for each separate report. So that's the advantage of the duplicator. We can also use the pivot table as an example and dump all the data directly into a pivot table. And then even if we are on the go, not connected to the internet, our data is still remaining within the pivot table that has been extracted from the database. And then we can use that for the analysis even on the go. So that's a quick overview of the Excel platform, the different reports that we can create using this. And now from the Excel add-in, as the new evolution of this tool has happened already within SCI, now we actually have the same Excel-like environment within the web application that we were looking at earlier. So we now have the web workbook where we can create the Excel-like reports within the web application. So you do not even have to go out of the web application into Excel to create those reports. Here's an example of such report where I'm showing you this report set up within the web workbook. And at the very first glance, you can notice that it's very similar to Excel. You have the same row or same layout of the rows and columns. You can go cell by cell to manage each individual cell on these reports. And then you have all the formatting options that you're used to within Excel. And then, of course, the ability to add any images, any charts, and so on and so forth, any of the Excel formulas that you also want to include in here. And of course, use the native SCI tools such as data extraction that we already saw in Excel add-in, or even my formula wizard to do these calculations on these cells. So if I go back here in the formula wizard, we will see the same principle, but just in a different way of looking at it. A bit more user-friendly, I would say. We are using the data model, you're using the field again, and you can choose from this list right here which exact field you want to use. And then again, the operators that you can apply on these. And finally, mapping these to the different cells within the spreadsheet here. And this is how each and every transaction posting that we see here has been calculated. So these are all dynamic. So which also means that I can set up these buttons with the help of Web Workbook, because it also offers some of the functionality which is not even available in Excel, like setting up these buttons. So if I want to switch in my data from 2017 to 2018, I simply click on 2018, and you will notice the data is beginning to load again and show me now the numbers for 2018. So all the reports can be created dynamically. So as soon as we change something as the dimensions on the top, it could be your fiscal years, it could be your fiscal periods, it could be even your company codes, and then you will notice the data is dynamically changing based on our selections on these reports. So that was it for my side. It was a quick overview of the solution, showing you the power of SCI